You know what time it is. We just promoted. It's political panel time. Democratic strategist Kendra, Barkoff, Lamy, Republican strategist Heye. Okay, so we're a little slow on the uptake here, on the takeout. You know, we let things spin and spin and spin around social media before we decide to confer upon them legitimacy via the takeout. So this has been spinning for a while. We're going to show it. At the Munich Security Conference, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was asked about U.S. troops deployments to Taiwan should China make a move. Watch.
You know, I think that this is such a, I think that this is of course, a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
Kendra, that's kind of rough to watch.
It is rough to watch. However, I will say it is nice to see leaders engaging across, in a respectful tone, in a respectful way, because that does not always happen with our current leadership here.
Sure. But you are experienced in this space. You would have probably, I think, briefed her on the very high likelihood that you in Munich at the security conference would get some of the common questions about U.S. strategic interests and troop deployments if different things should happen. And Taiwan is usually in the top 5.
Again, I will reiterate where I started, which is it is nice to see leaders engage on a global scale.
Yes.
And, I will also say, if you take this back around, it is an important issue, obviously. It is a very important issue. But I don't know if it is something, yes, it's been percolating on social media. I don't know if it is something that Americans are as focused on at this current climate, given all of the other
Doug, you
issues
wanted to
we are
raise
seeing.
this, so please tell me why you wanted to raise this.
Well, in the spirit of, isn't it great to see leaders get along so well? Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who was also at the Munich Security Conference, not the Munich Beer Hall, she said, in fact, AOC knows more about this issue than even I do. Right? And the challenge of this is when you're stepping on the international stage, like somewhere like the Munich Security Forum, you're doing it because you want to be taken seriously. Mm-hmm. And you're not taken seriously at this because you have a ton of Twitter followers, which AOC does, or that you can raise a lot of money, which she can. It's, I'm a serious and thoughtful person on these global issues. And both of them just absolutely whiffed on it to the point that you wonder, why did you go?
Why did you go, indeed? We mentioned this, Don Bacon. It's not an earth-shattering event, but there is, I think, quietly among Republicans, more and more concern about the pardon powers exercised by President Trump. They cannot be checked. They're plenary. That's a fancy constitutional word. It matters. But they're uncomfortable with it, Doug. And it seems to me that there's something there that ought to be thought about by the Trump White House because this could be a political flank uncomfortable to it.
You would think so. But in the
but maybe not.
In the real world, why would we? And here's the example I would use on this. Look, we all saw the awful image that the president posted of the Obamas. Mm-hmm. Didn't he learn his lesson after his tweet about Rob Reiner and his wife being murdered by their son? So if you're Donald Trump and you're presumably never running for office again, I won't call him lame duck. I call him YOLO. Why would he stop doing this, especially after the midterms, especially in that 3-month period when President-elect J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or Gretchen Whitmer or whomever it may be is the very real incoming president, that he's going to do whatever he wants to do.
And Kendra, Don Bacon, if he was here, would say, well, it's not just about President Trump, it's about President Biden, too, and Hunter and everything else. I'm just as upset about that as I am with Trump.
Well, this is actually something I think Doug and I both agree on, which is we do need pardon reform, because I do think that
Congress ought to do something.
I think Congress does need to do something in a very bipartisan way, and I think we have actually talked about the fact that it needs to be done. But to go back to your point about Trump in general, there's something called the midterms coming up, which we have now seen what is happening play out across the country in special elections and in primaries, and we are seeing astronomical numbers. So you want to know why? One of many reasons why he should stop doing these things is because it's going to hurt the Republicans in the midterm. when Republicans go to vote for these people.
Very quickly, Doug, a lot of Americans think Washington stinks. That's a metaphor. But right now, there's a real genuine problem. Open sewage from Maryland, Montgomery County, huge pipe pouring into the Potomac. The president has raised all sorts of concerns about it, denouncing Wes Moore, Democratic governor of Maryland, saying that the federal government stands ready, but it's mismanagement of a certain kind, and trying to make this political, but it's a huge issue.
It's a huge issue, and it's where you can demonstrate leadership. And if you're Donald Trump and you're the builder, it means you fix things. And we haven't seen him really do that.
He's waiting for a phone call, though.
Right.
Come on. When do you wait for a phone call?
You're the guy who builds towers and fixes all these things that are broken. This is a perfect example of how you could do that.
Kendra?
Well, this is infrastructure at its finest. Clearly, we still have some problems that are going on, but this is a federal pipeline issue. This is not a state issue. This is a D.C. water issue and a not a state issue. And I do think that there clearly is, once again, some blame and shifting and all of the things, but he could be stepping up and he should be stepping up.
Kendra, Barkoff, Lamy, Doug, Heye. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.